Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you had a really nice weekend and happy Monday. I am here as usual to bring you your weekly reading with the Rainforest Wisdom deck and with our guides that I've already called in for us today. Let's see what our energy theme for the week is. The Banana Slug. This is the card of presence. That's funny because this past week was the card of movement. And there was all of this kind of momentum and this moving forward. And then all of a sudden we have the banana slug, which is, I wouldn't say the opposite, but it doesn't go anywhere quickly. It really asks us to step back and allow life to move at, a slower pace and to be more in the present moment. So let's see what we can get from our higher selves and our guides this week. That's funny because I get the sense that this, we could call it presence, but I'm seeing it more as focus. Right? I'm getting the imagery that has to do with focusing on the thing that's right in front of us. And this might involve setting time aside this week to allow ourselves to really dive in to something in a deeply present and focused way. Let's get a little bit more here. It's funny because I feel like the meaning of this card, if you were to just read it in the book, it would not align with these messages, but that's okay. I'm going to interpret it the way that I'm channeling it right now, which is that this week we have an opportunity to really get some headway on something, really get some traction, to really go deep somewhere in our lives. And it's almost like I got more done in this 4-hour period on this project than I got done in the last 4 months kind of energy. Where if we allow ourselves to not get distracted and focus and be really, really present with something, we might find that we're able to make an amazing level of progress forward in a short amount of time. I'm going to go back in. I'm also hearing the words a sacred container. And maybe this work, it doesn't feel sacred to you, but maybe it does. Whatever is coming up is going to be different for everyone. But what I'm interpreting this as is we have to be able to set aside a very specific amount of time where there is a beginning and an end. Like this afternoon from 2 to 4, I'm doing this thing and nobody is going to bother me and I'm not going to get distracted. Maybe I'm going to leave my phone in the other room and I'm just going to set up the ideal circumstances for this thing to happen. Maybe that means putting on a podcast and making a yummy drink and doing the thing, or whatever it is, but there's this space that is created that's very intentional where here's the beginning, here's the end. I'm setting myself up in a way that feels very ideal in order to do this thing or focus on this thing or allow this thing for myself. And I know when it's going to be over also. So take that or leave that, obviously, if that works for you and for what you're inspired with this week. Let's see what else. I'm also hearing filter out the noise. And this could have more than one meaning. One of them could be, hey, maybe you just really need to cut out all of the distractions. Maybe that is, technology or whatever. Maybe that's just like the literal sound in a space in order to concentrate. But I'm also reading it as societal expectations, filtering out the ideas that hold us back from allowing ourselves to move forward with something or allowing ourselves to be present with something. The limiting beliefs that we hold, right? The stories that we tell ourselves about why we don't want to do this thing, or about why we can't do this thing, or about why we don't have time to do this thing, or whatever it is that this pertains to in your life. Creating a sacred container and filtering out the noise are two guidance points for being present this week with something that we're meant to go deep with. Let's see what else. Within that container, our guides, are saying, don't be too structured, too planned out about how this is meant to go, or how this is meant to look, or what the process is meant to be like. We can come in with a general idea, but it's meant to feel inspired, and one part of the experience might lead to the next, and we might not exactly know where the process is going to go within this container. We might not have any idea what the end result is going to be. So if we go in with too much limiting structure as to how we want this, to play out, it might actually hold us back from being present with the natural process that wants to come through. There's this element of allowing ourselves to surprise ourselves. And if we don't have some flexibility within this space of focus, then we're not going to be able to surprise ourselves with what can come through. I feel like with this message, there's also a reclaiming of something here, like a reclaiming of our priority of our priorities, a reclaiming of our time, a reclaiming of our own authority to create time for ourselves for things. And I just see that it's such a, like, you know, especially this time of year, there's just so much going on, and there's so much of a demand for our time and our attention outside of us. And so when we're guided to do this, it really is about like reclaiming and reprioritizing something that is important to us in some way, but that maybe we just haven't allowed ourselves to really focus or go deep on for a variety of reasons. So, okay, let me see if there's anything else here. Mm-hmm. If all this is just processing time, where you spend time alone to process some things, that is enough. That is something valuable. Especially this time of year, we don't have a lot of time that we set aside unless we are very intentional about it. There just isn't, you know, naturally, seasonally, a lot of inward focus. And so this week, it might be a time where you're just like, you know what? I just need some time to sit with this thing and feel this thing, or process this thing, or organize my thoughts, or whatever it is. Right? It doesn't have to be outwardly productive. It can be something that happens internally, but that regardless, we need to create space for in order to enhance our well-being. So that is how it may look for some of us also. All right. So finding time, setting some time aside, creating that sacred container in order to focus our energy without too much structure, allowing our inspiration and our imagination to also be free within this time, and perhaps surprise ourselves with what might come through. All right, everybody, have a beautiful week, and I will see you next Monday.